host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 37 of the 815 Exchange. And boy, do I have plenty, and I mean plenty to talk about from what's been a very interesting past 7 days in the sports and entertainment world. Some of it positive, some of it I'm going to be singing its praises, like album of the year contender in music, some great television also. But we also have me probably going on quite a few rants here, and me really just kind of exercising some stuff that probably needs to be said, and I feel that needs to be said. So it's a pretty big episode, one of the biggest episodes I think we've had so far. And yeah, get seated up, get some food and drinks, whatever you need for this episode. And yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting one. But before I get straight to it and start off with combat sports, which is what I'm going to start off with this week, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you are enjoying the content. It helps the channel grow, all that yada, yada, yada. You've been through it, you're not new to YouTube, I'd assume, so you know how this goes. Timestamps, as always, are in the description, as well as all my social media links, all of that stuff in the description for you right there. You can follow me on Twitter, which is probably where I'm most active, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And it's also, of course, at the end of this video. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I said it's a very big episode, and ladies and gentlemen, let's get it started. Combat sports. And this is probably part of the reason why you're here, right? For the events that took place on Saturday night in the boxing world. And I'm not talking about Bubu Andrade's win. I mean, that was expected, or the Tony Harrison fight. No, it was for whatever we want to call what that Triller card was. I mean, it was probably more concert than boxing match. I'm pretty sure there was the concert. If somebody can do the math on that, I haven't seen it yet. The concerts and that musical performances at the Triller Fight Club event probably took up more time than the actual fights. I feel like that's for sure. Like, that's 100%. That's gotta be, because there were so many. Bieber, Doja, Sweetie. Then they had like legends. I saw Ice Cube. I took a shower break in between that. Snoop performed. It was a mess. It was a mess. Oscar showed up off of the snow, and he's supposed to be having a comeback fight, but Oscar did. He was blasted. Oh my goodness! It was like that one picture of Tony Montana where he's sitting with the mound of coke on his desk. That's how Oscar was before he hopped on commentary. Pete Davidson was corny as hell. I'm not gonna lie. The whole shtick of him just being there, and he's supposed to be the cool, edgy guy that's, this is so stupid. Pete, you still took a check, bro. You're playing this character. It just got old. I know some people ate it up, but it just got old for me. Yeah, and then just a bunch of celebrity. Triller has really dumped money in the past year, I'd say. Really, after seeing how big TikTok got and how Triller was kind of supposed to be their competitor, Triller has really started dumping money into just getting as much advertisement. And now with this Fight Club thing, really trying to do everything it can to stay relevant. But, I mean, the event was a mess. The camera work was all over the place. The fights weren't great. But we were here for the main event, right? Ben Askren versus Jake Paul. I told you I didn't tell you last week. I told you on TikTok. I said I had Jake winning, of course. And probably in the build-up. When this was announced, I'm pretty sure I said Jake was going to win. There's a reason why Ben Askren was picked. And what do you know? Jake wins by knockout in the first round. So let's get it off, right? Everybody's asking me, one of my friends asked me, had a good conversation about this, shout to Z. But just I've seen other people, and they want to call it rigged. They want to say, the fight was rigged. The fight was rigged. There's no way this wasn't rigged, right? No, it wasn't rigged. It wasn't. Honestly, it wasn't rigged. I don't know what y'all expected. I really don't know what y'all expected. Look at the training footage. I mean, he got a little bit better. I was at that last week. I was like, hey, Ben's getting a little bit better. I still didn't think he was going to win. I mean, the most he could have done is maybe, and I don't even know about that. was maybe grind out a decision. Right, but here's the thing about the clinching game of boxing, right? You can clinch, you can make it ugly, but you still have to be able to punch. You still have to be able to box to an extent. And Ben's not at that extent. He's not at that skill level, okay? Jake Paul is a better boxer than Ben Askren. That it is what it is. That's just how it is. I'm sorry, I know that hurts people. I know a lot of people were just very upset that Jake won, so it had to be rigged because he's the golden boy of Triller or whatever, and he's one of the faces of this entire thing alongside T.O. and some other guys, right? But no, Jake was just better than Ben Askren. This wasn't wrestling. Ben looked wildly out of shape, even though that's just kind of how Ben looks. But he just did not, he did not look like he belonged in the ring, respectfully. He just didn't look like he belonged. So he got rocked, and if you look at, there's one particular camera view, I'll try to find it. If so, I might figure out a way that I can run it or whatever. If not, I might drop a link or something. Whatever. There's this one camera view. You can probably find it on Twitter or whatever. And it shows Ben got rocked, head hit the canvas. He got up. He was still very shaky. Now, sure, right, Chris, Ben Askren has a great chin, and everybody loves to bring up, and it's funny to me that everybody all of a sudden knows about this Robbie Lawler fight. Even though you probably, some of you people that are bringing up, but he fought out against Robbie, can't name more than 3 Ben Askren fights in your life. You haven't seen more than 3 Ben Askren fights in your life, and you want to go about, but he's got this legendary chin. I digress. Sure, yeah. That Robbie fight. He got up, he was taking a beating, he came back and he submitted Robbie, right? But there was the thing that Ben had his wrestling and he had his grappling ability to fall back on while he was rocked. He was able to latch onto him and do that because he can do the wrestling stuff in his sleep. In his sleep. And he literally almost did it in that Robbie fight in his sleep. He can't do that in a boxing ring. So let's say theoretically, Ben Askren is able to get back up, right? The ref keeps the fight going. Ben gets knocked down again because it was inevitable. That's 2 knockdowns. And maybe, let's say theoretically, since he's got a legendary chin, right? He gets up a 3rd time, right? He's going to get knocked down a 3rd time, probably in the next 30 seconds, because he's still rocked and he can't really defend himself. Basically, the point I'm trying to make is the ref did Ben Askren a favor. So he could go out smiling, as we saw with his family, because we know Ben doesn't take himself too seriously, which is one of his great attributes. The ref did Ben Askren a service by allowing him to not get Nate Robinson, to not get Manny Pacquiao versus Juan Manuel Marquez, so that Ben didn't get too embarrassed in front, more embarrassed than he was, in front of the national audience. Because it was going to get ugly, ladies and gentlemen. It was going to get ugly. Now, how do I think Jake is as a boxer, right? I think Jake is solid. He's very good for a celebrity. Some of y'all calling for the Canelo fight, or just because you're angry, you're like, put him in there with one of the Charlos, or put him in there with Canelo. That's just because you're angry. Like, why? First off, why would we even want to waste Canelo or the Charlos or Triple G's? Why would we even want to waste their energy and time? Even though it's not like the fight would be very long. Why would we even want to waste that time to give that fight to them? Why would they wait? Why would they waste their prime? Why would they waste their prime to face Jake Paul? Why would we do that? Why would we do that? Why? I think he's solid. He's obviously not going to face any world title or anybody that's world class. He still looks very hittable, Jake, to me. You saw even Askren got some little hits for, I guess, as long as the 30 seconds the fight lasted. Jake still seems very hittable. He's got some skills. He's got some talent. Gotta admit, I'm, I guess, partial. I don't really feel a certain way about Jake, either way. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I just don't really care. He's there. He does what he does. That's pretty much how I feel about him. So I guess I'm pretty non-biased in this. But yeah, he's solid. I think if you put him against like one of those regional like contenders, I think he'd get exposed, and we start to see that. Which is why I think his next fight should be against Tommy Fury. I really like that, and it makes sense. Tommy's kind of an influencer. We know Jake is obviously an influencer. I mean, it's how he got his fame. So it just really makes sense. Tommy actually does the boxing thing. You got the Tyson Fury connection because he's Tyson's brother. It makes sense. I think that should be the next fight for him, unless KSI comes back up, because of course we're still owed that match. But I don't know. I still don't know if JJ's winning that because he's been away for so long, and I don't know how good JJ really is. Dylan Dennis can get it too. I think Jake probably beats Dylan Dennis because Dennis can't strike similar to Askren. And Dylan loves to run his mouth. So that would be interesting in that. Two of the internet's biggest villains kind of scoring off. But I think that Tommy Fury fight is the one to make. And I would be very much so looking forward to that. Y'all could tell me who y'all think will win that one. I think it'd be very, 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 very interesting, especially if Jake continues to develop. Rest in peace to Shadow. I know his bodyguard died this week. That would suck to see. So rest in peace to him. Hopefully his family, his children are taken care of. Hopefully Jake and them and his camp kind of take care of that. But yeah, congrats to Jake. Triller, what a mess. What a mess that was. But I guess it was an entertaining train wreck. We had Ric Flair come out for a slap fight. It was all over the face, but it was also very funny. Very interested to see if they go for more of a professional route for the Kambosos versus Tiafimo match, which I'm very excited about. I'm very wondering what the kind of setup for that's going to be, because I don't think they can do it the same way, but they might. They might try it, and I feel like that might come off a little bit bitter, because it's, you know, there's certain standards you expect boxing events to uphold, and Saturday's events were not very professional. Very entertaining though. But yeah, that's that. That's my thoughts on that. Congrats to Jake on the KO win. Askren's gonna be perfectly fine. We'll clown him for now, but what do we expect? UFC. It's a big week for the UFC. Starting on Saturday, also happening literally at the same time as the fight. If you have me on Snapchat, you saw I was whipping the fight, the JP fight on my laptop, and I had UFC on my TV, so I was kind of dual wielding there. But Rob handled business against Kelvin Gastelum as expected. I picked the Reaper in this fight on TikTok. Rob, I mean, he's so good. He's so good. He's so good. And it's why, I mean, Kelvin fought a great chin. Somebody should donate Kelvin Gastelum's chin to science when he's done. But Rob was just dominant. He was just clearly better. He outclassed Kelvin. Not bad from Kelvin. But Rob was just on another playing field. It's time for the rematch. Uncle Dana, I think I tweeted this out. Please, Israel, the last style bender, Adesanya versus Robert the Reaper Whittaker. Let's run it back. It's time. Rob is ready. He deserves it. And it's a good fight for Izzy. It's a good fight for Izzy coming back. Familiar opponent. We saw how the first one went. Can he do it again? I mean, these guys are clearly the two best middleweights in the world. It's time to settle it. It's time to settle it once again. I think it'd be a very interesting fight. I mean, I could see Rob beating Izzy, but I could also, of course, see Izzy beating Rob again. I'm really 50-50 about that fight. I would definitely be tuned in for sure. I mean, I'm always tuned in, but I would definitely, I'd be ecstatic if we can get that match. And hopefully Dana makes it happen. It's the logical choice. I don't really see how you can have anybody jump Rob for that title shot. So, Adesanya versus Whittaker 2. Uncle Dana, make it happen. More shenanigans that happened at UFC Vegas 24 was Drakkar Klose and Jeremy Stephens were supposed to fight in the co-main event. But Klose injured his neck on the shove by Stephens. Stephens, you absolute scumbag. He has to be some kind of consequence from Dana and the UFC for doing that. I mean, I get it. It's the whole bravado thing, the whole, you know, building a fight, of pushing your opponent at the, you know, weigh-ins, whatever. Or, I mean, I didn't even know really any beef between Klose and Stephens anyway, so I don't know. He was just being angry. And it was stupid. And it cost him the fight. It cost you some money. And now Klose has to deal with this neck injury and get that fixed. And it was a pretty serious neck injury. So it's just a bad situation. It's so stupid by Stevens, so remarkably stupid by him. And yeah, hopefully Close gets better. Hopefully Stevens gets some consequences to his actions. And yeah, that was a very interesting UFC Vegas 24 card. Rarely get to see Rob on free TV like that, but it was certainly a treat. Hopefully he gets that Izzy fight. This week we got UFC 261. One of my highly anticipated cards of the year because it's stacked. It is stacked. Stacked. Of course, the headliner, well, there's 3 title fights, but the headliner, of course, is Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal facing off for the second time. Of course, they took on each other for the first time last year. Masvidal did it on a week's notice. Usman dominated. You know how this goes. I think Usman he just continues to get better. We saw how he did against Burns, and Burns is no slouch. But I got him taking out Jorge again. I just don't think Jorge's on his level. I think Usman's he's too good. He's too good. And I think he makes a statement against Masvidal. I think it's going to be a very tough fight for Jorge. Not that Jorge doesn't have the power, but I don't know how I don't know how focused Jorge is on getting better and developing his craft and being champion. I feel like he cares more about the money, and he got the big fight. He got what he wanted. I don't think he really cares too much. I don't know if he has the heart. I'm questioning his heart, I guess. But I don't know how much he really cares about winning the title, and I just feel like Usman's going to come out wanting to kill because Usman's a killer, and he's going to take out Jorge. We got Zhang Wei Li making her return. Of course, we had that fight of the year contender versus Joanna last year in an absolute classic. This one could also be a classic. Her versus Rose should be a very, very good fight. Good to see Zhang get back in there. Good to see Rose get back in there. And of course, we got Valentina Shevchenko, the number 2 pound-for-pound woman in the business, taking on Jessica Andrade, who presents a very interesting challenge. Finally, a challenge for Val. She's pretty much similar to Nunes, cleaned out her division. She's been the dominant force there, and Andrade's power and skill set brings, Andrade, also a former champion, brings something different that I think will be interesting to see how Val deals with. Finally, a challenge for her. And it's going to be interesting to see if Andrade can rise to the occasion or if Shevchenko can rise to the occasion and express her dominance over that division and really laminate her as one of the best female pound-for-pound competitors we have, and one of the best female mixed martial artists of all time, which is what she already is already. But to just really laminate that case with a dominant performance versus one of her toughest, I think, competitors she's faced yet. Should be a very, very, very good UFC 261. I'm very excited. Even the undercard, besides those title events, are looking very good. I know Cowboy Oliveira's in there. A lot of good stuff. UFC 261. Talk about it next week. Now for my other big major topic of the week, which comes, of course, from the soccer world. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, or football for my international viewers. There's a lot to talk about, especially with the stuff that has transpired in the past 24 hours. But first, let's talk about the Champions League, which also kind of transitions directly into what happened in the past 24 hours and this past hour. Bayern versus PSG, instant classic that first game. This one not so much, but still a very, very good game. Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting does it again against his old team. He gets the goal, but PSG's defense was able to hold it down. Neymar played a great game. Of course, we had a celebration from Kimmich at the end there, though I wouldn't look too much into it. But PSG gets it done. They get revenge. They get revenge on Bayern for the last year's Champions League final. Of course, Bayern then with the losses of Robert Lewandowski, who probably was the Ballon d'Or favorite, heading into that up till when he got injured. They also didn't have Serge Gnabry. But PSG, got to give all the credit to them, man. Mbappe and Neymar are just the best duo of players I think we have in the world right now. They're just magical together. I want them to play together forever. I could watch them play together forever. They had some chances here, but they didn't really take them. But PSG did what they had to do, and they got it done. Shout out to Pop for advancing. More on PSG. Of course, they're behind in the Liga 1 race for the first time in a long time, so they're fighting for a chance at that title. Had a game against St. Etienne on the weekend. It went down to the wire, but Kylian Mbappe, I've talked about him week after week after week, talking about him again here. Another just huge performance. He's been so good this season, so incredibly good this season. Clearly one of the best players in the world right now. He gets the heroic brace, and then Mauro Icardi in the 90th minute gets the game winner. Huge for PSG, fighting for their life in Ligue 1. And yeah, it's a challenge for sure. We saw that passion. We saw them get that win. We saw how bad they wanted it. We'll see if they can keep the momentum going. Hansi Flick, Bayern's head coach, who's been amazing the past 2 years, has announced that he would like to and probably will be leaving Bayern at the end of the year for a new challenge. I would expect him probably to end up as the German head coach, German national team coach. So I think that's where Flick ends up managing next, but he's been great so far with Bayern, and we'll see if they can close out the Bundesliga here. Moving on, we have Porto taking on Chelsea, another game where the loser on aggregate won this game. Porto got the win late. Taremi with one of the goals of the year. An absolute surefire goal of the season, goal of the Champions League contender. I mean, I just looked like he was working off instinct, bicycle kick, perfect placement, right in. Ultimately, it didn't matter because Chelsea was just too good. Another great defensive performance. Christian Pulisic is back in form, ladies and gentlemen. Pulisic is back in form. He got fouled 14 times in this game. 14 times. The most in a Champions League game in modern history, I believe. Outrageous. He's getting the Hazard treatment. He's the American Hazard, I guess, or maybe Hazard at this point is Belgian Pulisic. But yeah, Pulisic, I love it. I love him for Pulisic because he's our best player. And he's just amazing to watch. He's one of the best young attackers, best one of the young midfielders in the game when he's in form. And it's so fun to watch. And yeah, big one for Chelsea. Then on the weekend, Hakeem Ziyech, Pulisic again off the bench, get it done in the FA Cup against Man City. They advanced to the FA Cup final, so congrats to Thomas Tuchel. He's been phenomenal so far as Chelsea's manager, really doing a much better job than Lamps. Even though Lamps wasn't bad, Tuchel's really maximizing the potential of this team and getting the best out of these players. And yeah, huge for Chelsea, so congrats. Real Madrid and Liverpool probably in the snooze fest of the week. Even though it was pretty tense, a 0-0 draw, Real Madrid advances, of course. Business as usual for them, business as usual. Real Madrid gets it done. Big storyline there. Sergio Ramos, of course, has been hurt. Ramos, the captain, one of the greatest players in Real Madrid history. Dude probably deserves a statue. I mean, one of the best defenders of all time. Probably deserves a statue outside the Bernabeu, if we're being honest. Looks like his time is coming short. They look very good on defense with Varane and Nacho back there. And Nacho is the communicator, which is what Ramos was usually positioned as. They did perfectly fine against Liverpool without him, so we'll see how that storyline goes, see how that goes. Congrats to Real Madrid for advancing. Man City taking on Dortmund. They get the win once again, 2-1. Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden. England, you gotta win something. Even though it's been interrupted by something that I'm about to talk about, y'all have to win something. Win something. Please, just win something with all this young talent. Their midfield is going to be absolutely disgusting. Jude is a beast. Foden is special. Mahrez got the penalty, and that really broke Dortmund's back. Was that penalty? After Jude scored, they took the lead on aggregate. Then that penalty just really seemed to take the air out of Dortmund, and I was very frustrated watching them. They didn't have any fight. It didn't look like they wanted it. They looked dead out there. They looked dead in the water, even though there was plenty of time to get one more goal and retake the lead and advance. They didn't look hungry. They didn't look like they wanted it. And yeah, I think another window gone for Dortmund. I think Haaland leaves. Well, I guess that kind of depends on, again, what I'm about to talk about. But I think that was Haaland's last Champions League game with them. But yeah, nice run for Dortmund. But man, I really would have liked to see them put up a fight against Man City, because they could have scored. They really could have scored. Man City's defense wasn't impenetrable, and we know Dortmund's got the talent to do it. They just didn't look like they wanted it, didn't have the pace, didn't have the energy. And yeah, that was the Champions League, which of course transitions us into the new Champions League draw, which I'm pulling up right now. And the draw, of course, for the semifinals, we have Real Madrid versus Chelsea being there, and PSG versus Man City. The Abu Dhabi. People are making jokes because of the UAE connection between the owners of the PSG and Man City squads. Not that Real Madrid and Chelsea don't have filthy, dirty money as well, but Florentino and, of course, the Abramovich for Chelsea. Should be an interesting tie. Of course, that doesn't happen until next week, so we'll talk about that next week. But that's the new Champions League tie. Should be interesting. I think PSG, of course, and Man City is the matchup to look out for and all of that stuff. But I'll preview that and do my predictions for that next week. For now, let me talk about the big news in soccer this week, and that is the Super League. Really, it's dominated the headlines in my Twitter feed of the past two days, about really past day and a half, I'd say, since it's been trending, and it's been trending #1 pretty much continuously the whole time, ever since. I mean, I've almost, at this point, I should probably follow Fab on Twitter for all of this stuff coming out. It's just been mad. Also, Jose Mourinho of Spurs, because I'm about to talk about Spurs. He was sacked this morning by Spurs. Again, Mo, we know him for being the special one, know him for being one of the greatest managers of all time, but it just seems like he doesn't have that same magic. It was a good start for Spurs. He didn't look bad at the start, but it's just kind of all falling apart here. And now we have some questionable choices by the Spurs management, though I wouldn't really call the Mo firing a questionable one. I'd call this one a very questionable one. The Super League. AC Milan, Arsenal, Atletico, Chelsea, Barca, Inter Milan, Juventus, Liverpool, Man City, Manchester United, Real Madrid, and Tottenham Hotspur have all decided to join this Super League. And of course, UEFA answered right back this morning and said, any of you teams and any of you players that participate in said Super League will not be eligible to play in the World Cup or Euros, which is, I think, the appropriate measures to be taken here. How do I put this into words? I feel very strongly about this whole Super League concept. Because let's be honest, we know why this is being done, right? This is being done for money reasons. They want to make as much money as possible. That's what these owners want. They don't really care about the fans. They don't even care about the players, obviously. And they just want to make as much money as possible. But this doesn't even make sense from a business standpoint. I don't understand, besides those of you that are just inherited millions and millions and billions of dollars, I don't understand how you can make so much money and be so filthy rich and have such bad and lack of understanding when it comes to the business side of this. This Super League makes absolutely no sense from a business standpoint. Yeah, the upfront money looks fantastic. It does. That's 300 million euros, I believe, up front, almost 500 million euros. There's a lot of money being thrown around here, right? And that probably looks very, very enticing. But from a business standpoint, this makes absolutely no sense because you don't understand the demand. The basics. You don't understand the demand. Sure, on paper, this looks like, oh, we're taking all of the biggest clubs in the world, we're putting them in one league, and this is going to be, oh, you know, great. They play each other every week. It's the best versus the best. That's the whole scheme and idea of this, right? But you don't fundamentally understand what makes these matchups special. If Arsenal and Real Madrid, even though Arsenal's trash, and I don't know why them and Spurs are even wanting to be included in this, because that's a whole other thing I'm about to get into. But seeing Arsenal and Real Madrid or Barcelona take on Inter Milan, seeing them face each other each week is going to get tiring. Why will I care to watch these matchups? What makes these matchups special in the Champions League is that they don't happen very often. We as football fans, we as soccer fans, we don't get to see these matchups all the time. They're different. We get to see the best of this country versus the best of that country. The best of this league versus the best of this league. And they come together not very often, and they play to see who's the best. That's the brilliance of the late stages of the Champions League and what makes those big matchups against those big name teams so special. By making a Super League comprised of only them, takes away from the scarcity. So what happens when that scarcity goes away and that demand goes away, and suddenly we don't really care to see Man U and Real Madrid play because, I don't know, it happened 2 weeks ago. The demand. Nobody's going to care. And then for some of you teams like Spurs and Arsenal that have been utter garbage, I mean straight ass. I'm not going to censor any of this like I normally do because you know what, I'm going to air y'all out because this is how stupid this is. Y'all have been straight garbage. Straight garbage. So I don't really understand why you want to be included in the Super League. With all due respect to your fans, and I'm sure your fans would agree with me, where you're going to be bottom of the table every single year, getting just absolute crapped on. It's going to get very, very tiring having Ronaldo, Messi, whoever, Lautaro Martinez, crap on you week after week after week after week. And what happens when your team is losing and you put them in this situation already that these fans don't want to be in? Your fan support goes away. And these clubs are built on fan support. So what happens to your precious money when there's no fans, when there's nobody in the stands? Suddenly that money that you joined this league for disappears because you're getting shit on by Real Madrid and Barca and the rest of Europe's elite every single week. This is so dumb. It does not make any sense. If these owners took one minute, 2 minutes maybe max, to critically think and stop wiping their ass with $100 euros or $1 million and all of this money they have. If they took 2 minutes to critically think about this, they would think, wow, this is a really stupid idea. Because it's a mind-bending how you even thought that this was a good idea. If this was so brilliant, then why don't these preseason tournaments, which you put a bunch of big clubs in, and they don't play the great things, and they go to America, they go to Dubai or whatever to play out these preseason tournaments when you play each other, why don't they make more money? If all we want to see is the major clubs. I don't care about a Super League. I don't care to see the best teams, all these big names, because they're not even always the best teams. That's another thing you would realize if you paid attention. Look at the Champions League. Look what happens every year. Last year we had Atalanta. This year we had Porto make a little run here. Every year there's teams that aren't necessarily the big name teams that make runs here in the Champions League. That's the special thing about sports. The NCAA tournament, what makes it special? The upsets, the unknown. Any playoffs, because that's what y'all want to institute in this Super League as well. Any sport with a playoff or whatever it is, even in soccer, even with the table, we had this only a couple years ago with Leicester City winning the Premier League. What makes sports and competition special is the unknown. It's the chance and the belief that anybody can make that run. You have to get it done on the field. It's not just the name. You have to suit it up. You have to put that kit on. You have to put those pads on. You have to shoot it in that hoop. You have to get that stick taped up. Whatever it is. Anybody can win because that's how the competition is formed. It's equal. The biggest names, the biggest markets don't always win because they're not always the best. The Super League doesn't even have some of the best teams. You didn't even take the best 6 teams in England. Because I wouldn't put Arsenal and Spurs in their current shape. Liverpool's been not that great either. I wouldn't put them in their current shape as among the elite in England right now. If you look at the table, this is a joke. This is a joke. An absolute joke. It's completely unnecessary. I am utterly disappointed by each of these clubs, even though I'm not surprised by the owners. I'm very disappointed that they thought this was a great idea, that this was just going to go ho-hum. This is stupid. It's mediocre decision making. 2 minutes to critically think on this, and you would have realized that this makes no sense. Not just because the players don't want it, not just because the managers don't want it, not just because the fans, which is the most important part of these clubs. It's supposed to be the connection between the club and the fans. Not only would you have realized that they don't want this, but you would have realized from a business standpoint, as I so gracefully laid out for you at 20 years old, that this makes absolutely no sense. You are going to lose a shitload of money from this. This is fucking stupid. Like I was saying, I had to change the battery, so you probably saw a transition in there, and you're also hearing me talk a little bit lower. But this is it's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. So dumb. It's stupid. Like I said. And yeah, just I don't know. Hopefully what UEFA's done, causes a change, forces their hand. We're starting to see some players, and I've been on this doing the podcast for the past 40 minutes, so I don't even know if we're going to get to that. And there may have been some more players to step out and talk, but yeah, hopefully it doesn't go through because it's just dumb. But that's soccer. Now let's move over to a much more cheerful segment here, though I still have plenty to talk about here, and that is entertainment, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the entertainment biz. We had Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 5, the penultimate episode of the season or of the series, I don't really know. John Walker finally snaps. Well, he snapped last episode, but we saw it really go down here. We saw the aftermath of everything. We saw the branch and the possible pre-teaser to him becoming U.S. agent. We saw him building his makeshift shield, #NotMyCap. We saw him meet Julia Louis-Dreyfus, his character, who I can't remember the name of, but that's Madam Hydra, I believe. And yeah, we're starting to see that kind of emerge. We saw the whole training montage. We saw Sam finally pick up the shield. We saw him go through that with Bucky and them just kind of connect. And yeah, it was just a really good episode, man. It was a really, really good episode. I'm going to miss Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's been so good. Carly making her attack, making her move. And it's going to be a really good finale. Lots of stuff to get to. Can't wait to see that new suit and see how Sam looks in there and see how he performs as Captain America. Excited to see Bucky. Excited to see what Sharon's up to. Surely she's the broker, right? That's how GSP. Shout out to GSP as well for making his moves as an actor and all that type of stuff. Great stuff. I mean, Falcon and Winter Soldier, probably my favorite show on television. Along with this next one, of course, which is Invincible. We had episode 6. Mark and Amber and his friends go to uni. So we had Debbie kind of figure out Omni-Man. Though he didn't make a move. He didn't make a move on the costume maker. He didn't make a move on Debbie. But he does know that they know what he did. We had Mark and William went to university, as I said. And dealing with that villain there, who Cecil then kind of took off his tech after he was impressed. We saw William's boyfriend kind of become a robot. We'll see what happens there. Mark and Amber seemingly broken up. We got Eve out doing good on her own. She finally separated. We'll see what happens with Mark and Eve. Yeah, plenty of stuff to go by in Invincible. Another really good episode. Yeah, excited for more. Very, very excited for episode 7 coming on Friday. We'll be tuned in as always. Music, Slime Language 2. I'm going to give it an 8.3. I'm going to give Slime Language 2 an 8.3. I feel like that's a pretty good rating. There was a lot of good stuff. There was some stuff that I'll probably go back. I've only gotten through that first listen. It was 23 songs, so it took me 2 days to get through it all because there was some other stuff in the album I'm about to get to that came out, and I was too busy listening to that. But Slime Language 2, thought it was good. Much better than Slime Language 1. I think That Go and Pots and Pans were my first standouts, even though I might be missing something. Those features, oh my goodness, the features on this were absolutely crazy. Yeah, shout out to Doug. A lot of good musicality in this. Did a good job of showcasing that YSL roster and who they got there and all the talent they got there. Destiny was putting on some new artists here and there. But yeah, good stuff from Slime Language 2, good stuff from Doug, good stuff from YSL. A lot of stuff to like there. And yeah, it looked like it was pretty well received. So that's that. But ladies and gentlemen, we had an Album of the Year candidate. This week. AJ Tracey. I said it was going to be a big week in music with some of the stuff that was dropping. I did say that. And I was kind of talking about this. This was highly anticipated. I've loved everything AJ has put out in the past year. And he delivered. He delivered one of the best albums of the year. And I was so close. So close. And it might even be a 10. I might come back and retract and make this a 10. I'm going to give it a 9.7 purely because he mispronounced Q Coach. He said Kuko, even though it worked for the song, which is also one of the best songs so far, I think, on the album. Nav, shout out to Nav, floated on his feature. Cherry Bosco was my other standout track, but Flu Game by AJ Tracey, one of the best albums of the year. Front, top to bottom, just so good. It was so good. I mean, I'm going through that second listen, I couldn't believe how well the quality held up throughout the entire thing. And how well he did going through the different sounds, going through different beats. I mean, he just killed everything. Shout out to AJ, one of the best in the British hip-hop scene. If you're trying to get into that, I would highly recommend with Dave and guys like AJ Tracey. Just listen to this album. It's so good. Such a good album. 9.7. Modestly might be a 10, but it's so good. It's going to be on repeat for a very long time. This is staying in rotation. All hits, no misses. Shout out to AJ. He got it done. Now to head over to the NBA, continuing this going. Boston and Golden State took on each other in one of the games of the week. Probably the game of the week in my opinion. Boston got the win 119-114. It also featured one of the best duels of the year in Jason Tatum, who has continued his hot run of late. He had 44 and 10. Curry with 47 with 11 threes. And I'm going to get to Chef very shortly. But talking about Boston right now, was talking about them, especially with the sense of the Brad Stevens with Indiana. He denied that job even though they offered him a load of money. But why would Brad Stevens want to leave Boston? It's such a good situation. They're a good team already. Got one of the best young players in the league in Jason Tatum, who's going to be a superstar in the future. Jaylen Brown's another really good player. And there's a lot of pieces there. There's a lot of stuff to like. In a basketball-rich city of Boston, with a fan base that loves the Celtics. The Celtics fans love basketball. And they love the Celtics, obviously. But it's a good situation for Brad. Why would he want to go back and go to Indiana and have to rebuild that whole thing when he's got a good thing going with Boston? So, I agree with that decision. Tatum continues to level up and play well. We'll see if he can keep it going during the stretch. Let's talk about Steph Curry because he needs to be in the MVP combo. I know the Warriors aren't all that great, but ladies and gentlemen, in the month of April, Steph Curry, besides the fact that he's got 10 or more threes, in the past 3 of the last 4 games, he's got 10 or more threes, which is outrageous. I want to add on the fact that in the month of April right now, he is averaging 40 points a game on 56 from the field on 49% from 3. And those efficiencies aren't too off of his his total regular season statistics. He's now second in the scoring race to Bradley Beal by, I think, 0.3. Curry needs to be an MVP combo. There's been nobody better than him here in the month of April, and he's just been killing it all season. He is carrying this Warriors team. He has been outrageous this year. Absolutely outrageous. The run he's on right now is insane. He is must-watch television. Must-watch television. In a season in which I'm going to talk about later here on this NBA segment, we've had a bunch of injuries to stars. Curry has been on fire, and he showed up every single game. Every single game. He is on fire right now. Must-watch TV. If you're not watching, please do yourself a favor and watch Steph Curry go to work. More players that are super hot right now. New York Knicks took on the New Orleans Pelicans yesterday as well. Knicks get the win 122 to 112. The Knicks have won 6 straight. At least one New York team is getting it done. Shout out to my father. He's a Knicks fan. He's from New York. So he's a Knicks and a Yankees fan. I'll talk about the Yankees in my baseball segment. But yeah, the Knicks killing. Zion had 34. Randall, 33, 10, and 5. Against Dallas the other day, he had 44, 10, and 7. Julius Randle it's been a renaissance for him this year. It's been a renaissance. And maybe it's another reason of why we shouldn't give up on some of these guys, because they're still so young. Randall's only, I think, 25, 26. And a lot of people thought his career was a foregone conclusion. And yet we see him here in the right situation here with the Knicks. He's become a star. He's almost playing like a superstar, I dare say. He's been phenomenal. Phenomenal this year. And yeah, he's on a hot streak. The Knicks are hot right now. They're in the playoffs. We'll see if they can keep it going. In some sad news, we have LaMarcus Aldridge, which is a big strike to that Nets team, along with another thing that happened this week. It makes them a little bit more vulnerable, I'll admit. LaMarcus Aldridge had to retire, irregular heartbeat, which is nothing to mess around with, and sucks to see. Had a free ring this year if he was able to play, but health is more important. And he had a great career, 15 years, 7-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA selection. LMA was great. He was great. Definitely deserves, I think, his jersey should be retired by Portland. He was amazing. Arguably the best power forward in the game during his Portland days. But yeah, shout out to Aldridge for a great career. Hate it had to end like this, but I'm glad he got to prioritize his health. Jamal Murray tore his ACL this week. In some very sad news, especially since I had the Nuggets as my dark horse. To see this happen is tough. It's tough. Not that the Nuggets don't have the talent to still get it done, but super unfortunate. Not that the Nuggets don't have the talent still to get it done, but Murray, I mean, that's a massive loss, and gonna have to retract my dark horse statement for now, till we see how they play without him. KD and Spider Mitchell also came down with injuries. KD's, we still don't know yet. Spider ankle sprain, not too serious. Could be something that lingers. And we know how good Utah's been this year, but losing Spider's a big loss for right now. We'll see if they can stay afloat and keep that best record. KD just cannot stay healthy. He cannot stay healthy. So I'll take some of the pressure I've put on the Nets this year. I'll take some of it back. I'll take some of it. I'll ease off for a little bit. I still expect them to win the championship, but they're dealing with a lot of stuff right now. They're going through a little bit of a hump right now. We'll see how they can get through it. Dealing with some adversity. All teams go through it. KD, just been a tough season for him. When he's been there, he's performed, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy this year. We'll see if that continues. That could be a problem because they're not the same team without him and Harden. Kyrie, we saw how that went yesterday. Bam had that game winner. He can't do it alone. He can't be the guy. Kyrie cannot be the guy. We know this. So we'll see how the Nets deal with that. Now to head over to baseball, we had a very interesting week in the MLB. Carlos Rodon. I'm cool. If we want to have a no-hitter every single week, I'm perfectly fine with that. That is perfectly fine with me. Carlos Rodon, shout out to the NC State Wolfpack. He had a no-hitter versus the Indians. Had a perfect game, but it was broken up by inches. By inches on that hit by a pitch, which grazed my guy's toe. It's unfortunate, but great game for Rodon. Once again, like I said, with Musgrove, no-hitters can really elevate a pitcher and really build momentum for them over the course of the season. We'll see if Rodon, who's a very good pitcher, see if he can keep this momentum going over the course of the season. The White Sox got a lot of talent. They're definitely one of my teams to watch. Michael Kopech also had a really good outing this past week. We know they got the guys and the position players to get it done. So, yeah. White Sox definitely one of the teams I'm looking out for this year. Shout out to Yadier Molina, one of the greatest catchers of all time. First man to ever catch over 2,000 games with one team. Shout out to him. He's a Cardinals legend. Really a baseball legend. Shout out to Yadi, one of the best to ever do it. The New York Yankees, this hurts my soul. The New York Yankees are the worst team in the American League right now. I don't know what's going on. We are god-awful. The pitching's been awful. We can't hit anything. We love to strike out. It's bad right now. On one hand, with this current losing streak, hasn't been this bad since the last time we won the World Series, back in '98. Last time it was this bad to start the season. So I don't know. Maybe we turn it around. I hope we turn it around. But it's been pain. It's been straight pain as a Yankees fan so far. We've been trash. Shane Bieber is on fire. I mean, Bieber has had the best performance of any man with the last name Bieber. This past week, he had a 12K outing. And he's up to 48 strikeouts to start a season, which is tied with Nolan Ryan for the most ever to start a season in, I think, 4 starts he's had. Bieber's been picked right up where he left off, reigning AL Cy Young winner, looking like one of the best pitchers in the league, which is what he is. He's been amazing so far, and we'll see if he can keep that going. The Padres and Dodgers put on a very exciting series. The Dodgers won it 2-1, but of course we'll see them play very often this year, and if they have it their way, probably in the NL Championship. I think they're probably the 2 best teams, I'd say, in the National League right now. Absolutely stacked. We had a lot of great moments in that first game into extras. Mookie's walk-off catch. The brilliance from Eric Hosmer yesterday was a great series. Tatis came back. It made an immediate impact. Though his defense has not been great so far, and something he definitely needs to clean up if they want to be where they want to be this year. But yeah, great stuff with baseball. It's heating up. A lot of good stuff there. And with all of the major topics covered, ladies and gentlemen, for this week, for episode 37, it's been a very stacked episode, like I said. That brings us to this week's episode of At the Buzzer. Yes, you've heard from me enough. Let's hear from my friends. Even though I will be talking a little bit here and giving my stuff. And this week it's focused on the NFL draft. I told you I was going to do some scouting, talk about some of these prospects. So here we go. But we're going to start off with my boy Raheem and his thoughts. We're talking about the quarterbacks and the running backs this week. I asked him when we talked about our top 5 at each of those positions, and starting off with the quarterbacks, he had Trevor Lawrence, of course, at number 1, Justin Fields at 2, Zach Wilson at 3, Trey Lance at 4, and Matt Jones at 5. And I would also agree. I think that's mine. I would make Fields and Wilson 2A, 2B, but I think that's pretty fair. Of course, this is At the Buzzer, so you guys let me know what you think. You can let me know your rankings and all that type of stuff, how you feel about it. But yeah, I'm definitely a big believer in that kind of ranking. That's how mine is kind of set up. Lawrence, do I really need to say why Trevor Lawrence is the number 1 prospect? He's just got the best combination of skills from what I've seen and all the footage I've seen of him. I know we had those comments come out from Sports Illustrated, and he clarified them. And again, I thought it was a non-story. It was really a non-story. I have watched. If you're worried about his competitiveness, you haven't watched much film. Because I can't tell you how many times I've watched Trevor Lawrence, knowing darn well he's going to be the number 1 pick coming up. He put his body on the line for the sake of winning. How many times have we seen him get fired up? Like when he scored that rushing touchdown against Miami. And we've seen Trevor Lawrence talk trash. I watched him as a freshman stare down the entire South Carolina sideline after he threw a touchdown. He's got the confidence. He's got the love of the game. He's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. What I will say about Lawrence, and I think a lot of you will agree, his one pitfall is that sometimes he tries to do too much, and I think that's where the turnovers come. I don't think his turnover problem is where it's going to be like Jameis and we got to worry about him throwing 30 picks. That's not going to happen. It's just the Superman complex. He knows he's talented. He knows he's good. He's got the confidence. He knows he can make those throws, and sometimes when he makes them, it's amazing. But sometimes he tries to force things, and that can get him into trouble. He got better at that this year, though we still saw it happen. He's just got to keep cleaning that up, and of course, sky's the limit for Trev. Super high on him. Justin Fields, no prospect has dealt with more prospect fatigue than Justin Fields. Now I know he wasn't great this year against great teams in the Big Ten, but Justin Fields is a dog. He's still a beast. He can get it done with his legs. He's got the arm to get it done. He's a great prospect. He's a great prospect. He's a franchise quarterback worthy prospect. One of the best prospects in this draft. Again, the smaller Cam Newton comparison doesn't really work. Maybe in running style, but he's more accurate than Cam was coming out. But Fields he's just a really good prospect. I think he's dealt with a lot of prospect fatigue, plus those performances, but he can still get it done. He can make the throws, and of course he's got those wheels. Zach Wilson, he's not Mahomes. He's not Mahomes, but still a very, very good prospect. Prospects like him in the past, similar to a Josh Allen, who I was super low on, and we saw what happened. I'm not falling for that again. Guys that didn't perform maybe well against great competition or didn't play for great teams and playground competition in college, but had all the raw talent. And Wilson, in this case, he performed great this year. He was great. He was great for BYU. He was in Heisman combo at some point in time during the season. Wilson, he can make any throw. It just comes out different. I was watching footage on him. It just comes out different coming off of him. Pause. He can make all the throws. He can make all the throws. He's got a cannon. He's got the accuracy. I was super impressed by him. He's got some mobility. None of the top guys are really statues, I will say. A lot of those guys got some mobility, can make plays happen. And of course, we saw all the stuff about, it's kind of similar. He has a similar play style to Johnny Manziel. Maybe not so much in the sense of Manziel, but he has some Manziel in him without, I guess, the character concerns. But Wilson can be very exciting to watch, and he's a very good prospect. And if he goes to the Jets, I think he'll be a very good player. Wherever he goes, honestly. He's just a very good prospect. Trey Lance, why I have him higher than Mac Jones is because I don't think Mac Jones, and me and Rob started the same sentiment. We just don't think Mac Jones is a superstar caliber player. Similar to how these four guys ahead of him have superstar potential, we just don't see him having that type of upside. Though I think Mac Jones can be a very good player, especially if you put him in a situation like he was at Alabama, where he can just get it to the playmakers. He does that very well. He's similar to me in the sense of a Kirk Cousins. He's not going to be elite, but he can be a very good quarterback in the right situation. What Mac Jones does very well is he doesn't turn the ball over, and he just does what he's supposed to do. And that's sometimes all you need in a quarterback. A guy like that can win a Super Bowl. So I understand it. I would pick him over the guys we got ranked ahead of him. But Mac Jones can still be a good quarterback. But Lance's big thing is those legs. Man, his running is going to be a threat. Even though he was placed in FCS competition, I think of those top 5 guys, he's definitely got the best wheels, even over Justin Fields. He's going to be a threat immediately with the running style he has and with his running abilities. Got to be able to show that he can make the throws. I will say that. That's where the Lamar comparison kind of makes sense. Both were capable, but we need to see them do it on a consistent basis. If I can see Lance make the throws, make the passes, make the reads on a consistent basis, I feel very good about him becoming one of the best quarterbacks in this class, one of the best quarterbacks in the league one day. I can very much so see that. He's just got to prove he can do that. We know he can run, but can he make the throws consistently? He's got the capabilities, but can he do it? I think that's the big question with him. I watched some Kyle Trask film, and I was very impressed. I know a lot of people were talking about the arm and a lot of different stuff, and he's a statue, but he didn't look too bad in the pocket, honestly. He looked pretty mobile and was able to improvise some. He was able to make the throws. Yeah, I know he was doing a Kadarius Toney and Kyle Pitts, but still, Trask looked very good. Looked very good to me. And against SEC opponents where he needed to show up, he showed up. So I think I'm a little bit higher on him than most, but I was impressed by Trask. When we were talking about running backs, Raw had it as Najee Harris as his number 1, Travis Etienne as his number 2, Javonte Williams as his number 3, Trey Sermon as his 4, and he had Michael Carter as his 5. He actually switched that up, and he's had ETN at number 1, and he had it because, which is the same thing I had for it. ETN, this is the pass catching capabilities. We saw much of a pass catching threat. Clemson didn't have those same receivers. We saw ETN really step up and become that pass catching threat that he needed to be, and stepped up for Trev and was able to do big things there. And that really kind of helps separate him and puts him over the edge over Najee Harris. Not that Harris is not a threat in the passing game, he is, but we liked ETN's overall capabilities because of that pass catching ability. My top 5 was a little bit different than Roz. I still had Harris and ETN at the top in that same order of ETN at 1, Harris at 2. You could dare say it's a 1A, 1B type situation. I think ETN's balance is special. I don't know if I've ever seen balance like that on running back prospect I've watched. And of course, he's got that breakaway speed. Harris, not so much, but he does have the moves. He's got the moves. He can make people miss. Both of these guys are very good at making people miss, and are both, I think, could be very good to superstar caliber running backs in the league. But mine was a little different. I also had Javonte Williams at 3, but I had a 4A, 4B. I didn't have Trey Sermon, though he's definitely one to look out for with the way he closed, and I think he's kind of my X factor. Similar to how I had Trask outside my 5, but he was the guy I'm like, possibly we should watch out for. Sermon would be that guy for me here, but I want to put some eyes on Kenny Gainwell. He's had a little bit of pub, had over 2,000 yards 2 years ago. He sat out because of COVID, but for Memphis, he was a big time contributor, and he looks very, very good. Similar to Etienne, he's a guy that can get it done running. He can get it done receiving. He had over 600 yards, I think, receiving. Well, no, he had over 5. No, it was either 500 or 600 yards receiving. I can actually pull that up real quick. Yeah, he had 610 yards receiving with 51 catches, while also rushing for 1,400 yards and 13 touchdowns, which was over 2,000 yards combined. Gainwell was a problem. He was a problem. And I think in a league where you're seeing running backs become more of a receiving option, that could bode very well for Gainwell. He can also run the ball well. He's got some good vision. And I was impressed by what I saw. Same thing with Michael Carter. All these guys, even though the bottom 3, I might not hold in the same regard as Harris and ETN, I think we're starting to see kind of that running back evolution of them being runners and receivers with all of these guys who are capable. Maybe not on the same tier as Etienne and I would say Gainwell, but can all get it done in the receiving game, though they have other things that they need to improve and other things where they're better at. Michael Carter also was super impressed by his film. He looked very good for Carolina. A little bit of a smaller back, but he's got that quickness, he's got that speed, he can make people miss, and he showed a little bit of power. He's not weak. And yeah, still got to improve that blocking. A lot of these guys do. But that's kind of a reoccurring trend with young running backs. And yeah, you guys can let me know what you thought on me and Rob's rankings for the running backs and quarterbacks. I'll talk about more draft stuff as we go along and down the week. And yeah, that's at the buzzer. So this has been a very long episode, but we're almost done. We are here finally at the Roundup. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start with some high school football. Mater Dei took out St. John's Bosco in one of the biggest games of the year, as it always is. They take the Trinity League title this year, 34-17. That Mater Dei defense really showed up big this time. Elijah Brown looks like he's going to be one of the top quarterback prospects down the line. C.J. Williams played a very, very good game, 4-star receiver C.J. Williams. And yeah, just great job by Mater Dei. They get it done. Huge win. They got a lot of talent. Bosco's very young. Very, very young. Matayo Ugalevi, which is DJ's brother, for those that don't know, is a very special talent. I expect him to begin his 5th star very, very soon. He had a touchdown in this game. Made some impact on defense. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very, very fun game to watch, as it always is. Yeah, very excited to see how that goes next year and see where some of those top level guys they got in-depth choosing for their college decisions. Speaking of college decisions, today, by the time that you're watching this, Chet Holgren, the number 1 player in high school basketball, will have decided. I think it's either Gonzaga or he's going to the G League. We'll see if I'm right. I don't really have a preference either way. I enjoy watching the G League and hope they can keep guys going. But seeing him with Gonzaga would be fun. I think I really want Gonzaga to get their national championship, man. Mark Few's such a great guy. They run such a great program. And seeing them continue to really bring in top talent could really establish them as one of the premier teams in college basketball, which is where they deserve to be. Also in college basketball news, we had Ben Askren to Texas, Walker Kessler to Auburn, and Tanner Groves, if you remember from Eastern Washington, the Caveman Bros. He was a reigning Big South Player of the Year. He is headed to Oklahoma, so we had some big moves being made in the transfer portal with it seems like every college basketball player in it right now. So we had some big news being made there. And to end off here with my school, shout out to UNC Charlotte. Shout out to the baseball team. I've been meaning to check out a game. I've been so busy, but definitely got to check out a game maybe next weekend. We are ranked 19th in the polls right now. You gotta love it. You love to see it. UNC Charlotte at 19th in the national rankings right now for baseball. Good stuff from the guys so far. We won the series versus UTSA this past weekend 2-1. We were on the road, but good stuff from the guys. Hopefully we can keep it up, keep rising the rankings. Would love to see us get to Omaha this year. If we can make that happen, make a little run. But yeah, nice to see the athletic programs on the rise. Nice to see the baseball team getting it done. But yeah, what an episode. This was a very long episode, probably one of the longest. But like I said, it was one of the biggest probably I've ever done. A lot of good stuff to talk about. There's been a lot of stuff to talk about. My voice is probably going to be gone by the end of the day. But yeah, hope you enjoy. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. My social medias are at the end of this or in the description. And yeah, hope you guys have a great week. It's going to be a very interesting week. And I'll have plenty to talk about next week for episode 38. But enjoy the support. It's been a fun one. Ocho, signing off.